across the line. Look at that defense from Krasowski, immediately covering off Olivier, but Olivier chucks it down into hell corner, and it looks like he's got a better exit too. They're now going to drag race up to Griffin's Bend.
Yes, they are. Here they're going to be in that straight drag race, and that's going to be Genet trying to hold on behind in that Lamborghini to see if there's anything to be had. Absolutely nothing there between the two of Krasowski and Olivier.
Krasowski's going to have the inside, but he doesn't break quite as deep. That outside is hard to hold on to, and that is why Olivier, a spin though, up at the front. Everybody tries to scatter to the inside. Krasowski falling all the way to the back. Will he get hit? No. Absolutely sends it into Sunset Bends, and cutting back underneath. We're going to go 3 wide onto the main straight and almost cutting across. Newhook nearly gets hooked himself, and thankfully has just enough space to go by Danny Cervantes. Cervantes using that slipstream to catch back up and see if he can keep Kings behind him. Kings has the desired inside line, and once again an over-under potentially no. Ryan Kings now into P3. Another attack from Reynolds, attempted into the inner loop, again, does not stick.
He peeks his nose to the inside through the carousel one more time. They've got a lapped car up ahead of him. When are they going to catch it? Can Reynolds capitalize as he now peeks to the outside? And they're side by side.
If he can keep here, he'll have the inside down into the toe of the boot, and he does. He's got the overlap. This could be job done. If he can manage to get in front and a little too deep into the corner. Schutt has to give it up, tries to square it off, looks for maybe a better exit, and I think he's got it. The lapped car helps him. He's going to try and fight back. Reynolds now gives him a taste of his own medicine as he covers the inside, breaking deep, down into the heel of the boot. They carry on side by side. Has he got the inside into turn 9? I think he might. He could have this one back. This will be an incredible fight back here from the 31, and he's got it. It's closer than he's been before, and it's a white flag lap now. Does he try and get it here? Does he wait till later? This seems like a good opportunity for me. And indeed, he's once again going to be on the inside for De La Rosa, but this will be the outside into Curva Grande. Will we see Lars Stolsen start to come back forward on him?
They got
Don't
traffic.
forget about Iamaki as well. And they're going to have to stay on the side. Oh, no, they come together. They come together, and that's going to send Olsen into a horrible tumble while Iamaki carries on with the lead. As we expected, the Nürburgring gobbled up a lot of cars last week. But critically, Andy T minimized his losses by claiming a valuable second place. He now sits on the precipice of being able to claim his first championship. Will Barber be the site of his triumph, or will he have to wait another week to seal the deal? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 10 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Barber Motorsports Park is an unlikely jewel of road racing amongst the Alabama hills. Let's take a closer look to find out what secrets it hides. Welcome to Barber Motorsports Park. Located just east of Birmingham, Alabama, this is one of the newer circuits in American road racing. The track was built in 2003 by George Barber to go along with his Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum, which can be seen appropriately from Museum Corner on the track. While the main circuit is the full course, which includes 16 turns over roughly 2¼ miles, there are also two lesser used layouts called the Short A and Short B courses. The track is known for its technical layout and hugely dramatic elevation changes. In every category of racing, it carries a reputation of making overtakes difficult. That's not to say it's impossible, with most passes happening into Charlotte's Web. Named for the spider sculpture outside the hairpin, it often suckers drivers into braking too deep with a sudden drop just as you attempt to slow the car down. That's not the most challenging part of the circuit, though. Museum Corner is reminiscent of turns like the corkscrew, with its blind entry, multiple apexes, and cliff-like plunge down a hill. IndyCar and IMSA have visited many times in the past decade, while motorcycle racing is also a regular staple here. Practice and precision are usually required to be able to find a fast lap, but there's a heavy dose of bravery also needed in a number of spots. Despite the track being very wide, accidents often collect multiple cars due to the lack of visibility over crests. All in all, this place proves tough to even seasoned veterans. But with the hillsides and trees providing beautiful natural viewing spaces and an immaculate facility, it's no wonder fans keep showing up in droves to watch the racing here. Well, DJ, we've seen in the past this is a good fit for this car, but it's going to be a tough one, that's no doubt.
It is indeed, Joe. Barber is going to challenge these cars left, right, and center, all the way from the Alabama roller coaster, all the way back around to the carousel. There's not a whole lot of overtaking opportunities. The only really two good spots that you can logistically get a pass on in these Lotus 79s is going to be going into Charlotte's Web or maybe off of the drag on that going down into Museum Corner. But even then, you've got to be very, very careful because of the high curbing through that area in particular. If you get too aggressive through there, you can damage the underside of these Lotus 79s. And as we've talked about, that can be very, very detrimental with the ground effect nature of these cars. So drivers have to be aggressive, but very careful.
Now, speaking of being aggressive, we have to anticipate that Andy T maybe could put the aggression back just a bit, but I don't think that's likely for him because if we look at the championship points, this doesn't take into account all of the drop weeks, but you get the idea. T has the ability to clinch today if he finishes third or better. That's the simple way of thinking of it. But Marco Kayla needs to win the remaining races as well to really make that any difference there with the first place. DeTurk and Freisha in a bit of a fight there with Timothy Reed rounding out your top five. It has certainly been an interesting one, but what about the team's standings here, DJ?
Well, Joe, over in that team standings, it's a little bit closer with Ligier Gitane's only 16 points ahead of Cooper's Car, Fittipaldi Automotive. About 16 points back from them is Parmalat Team Racing Brabham, but a very, very close scuffle there between them and Arrows Racing Team for third. Walter Wolf Racing with Seppa and Walker driving for that team. They're about 9 points back, so pretty close as well. And nothing really set in stone yet on that team side.
As for today's event, going to be 35 laps around here that they'll be racing. It is round 10 out of 12, so we are into the finale parts of the season. Open setup out here, but you got to think they're probably going to try and crank in wing as much as they can, and they have no spare car to help them if they do get damage, which can be easy in a number of places around here. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25. Right now, they are out in qualifying, and T just took his second lap. He did go quicker, but it only put him into second place, so no bonus points for him up at the top. Partanen holds that provisional pole. Marco Kayla, in his first time, only good enough for fourth, it looks like.
Yeah, a lot of drivers here opting for the side of caution, I think. Off track's pretty easy to pick up around here by running a little bit wide in these Lotus 79s. You can push the car just a little bit too far and it'll want to step out on you.
What I find interesting, too, is this is a very technical track. There's a lot of corners packed in, and yet in spite of that, it's still a fairly quick lap. You were looking at 1:10 for the quickest drivers out there, DJ, so hence why we have 35 of them to try and do around here. Oh, as slipping off, that looks to be Freisha, who will not get a first lap even. This was his first flyer that he was just on. He's going to park it, and I think he should have the ability to come back out and get one single lap in, but wow, Gernot's going to have some work to do.
Indeed, he is, and just a little bit too early on the throttle coming through the museum complex. That's easy to do. The car just wants to understeer off and get off into the grass around here. And thankfully, in the virtual world, they don't have to pay the landscaping bills that Barber is infamous for in real life.
Ooh, Marco Kayla goes up to second place. So Andy T has been shuffled down into fourth. Sergio Fernandez has since picked up third place. So Marco does have a shot at this and keeping it alive. We'll see, as now we watch Finnegan, who's on his second flying lap, coming down into Museum Corner, using as much as he can, but making sure to stay off those tall curbs.
Yeah, as I said there, through Museum, and then again here through the S's, you've got to be careful about those high curbs. Don't want to take too much of them. Finnegan tracking here relatively well. He looks good in the first sector. The second two, relatively okay, so I think this might be a better time for him.
So as they come through, Gernot Freisha is getting ready to start a lap, and Finnegan, unfortunately, is not going to get a second one, as we just see him spin off there on the final corner. So back to the Koperzukar number one, as he comes over the crest of 4 and down into Charlotte's Web once again. I feel like 4 needs a name. It's not much of a corner in most cars, but it certainly can get them light.
It certainly can. If fans here remember the IndyCar race from several years back, Joseph Newgarden involved in that very freaky accident. It's a blind corner that you come out flat in, and the car gets light, the rear end gets loose, and it's very easy to have it step out on you. So we'll have to figure out something there to name it, Joe.
Freisha through the S's on the back half of the course. And I think he is the last one able to set a time here in this final minute. And once again, the car is very loose. So even if he does get a time, he is going to be very far down the order here today. In fact, it is about 2 seconds from first to 16th. So I'm guessing he's still going to be lining up in 17th position, a 1:12.237. I'm proven wrong. He's 16th instead of 17th. So at least he got one on the board, but man, it's not looking good for him. Before we get to the grid, we want to mention, make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code, MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. As for that starting grid, Pauli Partanen has put it on the pole here today, and he's got Marco Kayla, who needs the win to keep his championship hopes alive. Will he be able to challenge him? Sergio Fernandez will be starting in P3 into his outside on row 2. He's got Andy T, the championship hopeful for this season. Mikko Lano will be starting in 5th, followed by Michael DeTurk in P6, and then it's Nathan Finnegan 7th. After that, you've got Timothy Reed, P8, Isaac Snyder from 9th, and Ove Trangrade starting in 10th.
Yuka Tolonen's going to line up in P11, followed by Karthik Pai with Peter Koneski and Armando Edwards in 14th. Tyler Campbell is 15th, followed by Gernot Freisha and Javier Mascara rounding out your field.
So only 17, but we got a split here today. So the drivers are certainly going to be the cream of the crop here, and there's going to be a lot of points on order. I believe we have at least one camera here today. We've got Tyler Campbell. I have to give him credit for one of the most creative cameras that I think we've seen in some time. So Tyler, my props to you, dude. That has to be one of my favorites, and he knows he's on TV now. So thank you very much, Tyler, for the stream today. Hopefully he's with us all the way to the finish as we get the cars lined up and should be ready to go for round 10. Again, this could be where we see the championship decided on this warm Alabama day with 92 Fahrenheit on the track surface. So not too hot and certainly not too cold for them. And it looks like we've just about got everybody out there. I think we're waiting on Tolinen to find his spot on the grid, but our pole sitter Partanen is ready to go from this standing start here today. And there is Tolinen. So Let's start to rev the engines here for round 10 as we get ready to race at Alabama. The lights are up. And the green flag is out. Partanen very strong on the start. Kayla not so much. Here comes Fernandez looking for second place down the inside, but he is denied into there. It's clean for Andy T. He stays in 4th position. Looks like everybody's made it through turn 1, which can sometimes see wrecks. And through the Alabama roller coaster, we are clean.
We are, but it looks like Sergio Fernandez losing out a little bit to Andy T there. T able to capitalize through turn 4 and down into Charlotte's Web. He's going to be on the outside, and that's T around.
No, that's Miko Lino. He got tipped around by Sergio. He'll manage to get it rolling again. The number 10 goes straight to the back of the field. Freesia, by the way, already up to 14th in just a few corners.
Yeah, Gernot having a great run there as they work their way now down through the museum corner. That's the only incident we've seen thus far with Lino going off. A little bit of side-by-side there. Right up ahead is Gernot looking to get involved.
Certainly wants to make up as many positions as he can. Fernandez is struggling. I wonder if he got some damage from that tip because he just lost a spot to Timothy Reed. In fact, he's nearly going off course there over the crest of 13, and that's going to back up Finnegan. Behind him, Jukka Tolinen, and looks like Isaac Snyder all getting stacked up.
Yeah, this is where this track really comes into play. Not a lot of overtaking zones, and you can get a real bottleneck here. So drivers are going to have to be aggressive if they think they've got more speed to be able to move their way on by.
Some of them looking pretty loose. Jukka Tolinen got a little bit of a slide there going into the Alabama roller coaster. Up and over the crest once again. Sergio, as he finally stopped the backslide. It looks like it, at least for now. Oh, but he goes a little bit wide, down through Charlotte's Web, opens up the door. Finnegan gets a good run. He's on him, but it's going to take a brave man to try and make a move this early from that far back, and he decides against it.
Yeah, smart move there from Finnegan. It's really pretty much a one-way street through the museum complex. Don't want to try to go too wide through there. You can get a pass done and be later on the brakes to sort of dive it up to the inside, but he made the right decision here this early on.
One more spot for Freesia. He's up into 13th after getting by Armando Edwards. So as we now take a look at Andy T, he is in a position where he will clinch the championship. Honestly, if he keeps Marco Kayla in his sights, no matter where he is, that is the championship for him. So all he has to do is stay glued to that number 3's gearbox.
Yes, he does. He's doing a good job of it here. Only about a half a second off of Marco Kayla. And remember, we always talk about it, how these cars evolve over the course of a race. So we could see that car for T come in a lot better here later on.
What if we could take a look at Trangrade back in 10th, because he's been hounding Isaac Snyder for a little bit now. And oh, in front of them, Finnegan spins. That Finnegan was trying to make a move on Sergio, and it went all kinds of wrong. And Tyler Campbell goes off as well. Who is that other car? That is Armando Edwards.
Yeah, both drivers just looked like they came into Charlotte's Web a little too hot. It is a downhill braking zone, so you have the weight of the car counteracting the brake pedals, and it's very easy to lock the rears, especially in these Lotus 79s. Very, very sensitive to rear locking and spinning that car around.
So Tyler gets it going. Looks like Edwards does as well, but they're well down the order now. And Finnegan continues on in 16th between the pair of them. As we come back live here, our leaders, Partanen ahead of Kayla with T in 3rd place. Michael de Turk is starting to drop behind them. He sits in 4th, but there you can see in the background, he was a distance behind.
Yes, he was, but Marco Kayla setting the fastest lap of the race there, not letting this be too easy for Andy T. I like the aggression there. Oh, that's a spin again there for Finnegan.
I see what you did there, as the 14 has found himself facing the wrong way, but he gets it going once again. And it seems like he is struggling a bit now. And I think he had a tiny bit of contact before, so I'm wondering if that has affected him. Someone in the grass there briefly. I think that was Konechny, who we saw just dipping into there. He's got Karthik Pai behind him, and Gernot Freesia now up to 12th position.
Yeah, Gernot really on a move here. Tied for the biggest mover of the race thus far with Jukka Tolinen. We ride on board with Gernot right now as they make their way down here through the S's. Oh, it's such a great sequence of corners. You can see the compression onto the car and then here into the carousel. Multiple lines that all sort of converge into one. It's a really beautiful thing to see, Joe.
It's certainly fun to drive and fun to watch, but it makes it hard to pass. And Karthik Pai in front of Freesia is starting to get close to Konecny. Konecny cuts back into the Alabama roller coaster, and ahead of them you can see a little bit of a battle between Trangrade and Snyder. The mid-pack is fierce right now. Down into the braking of Charlotte's Web. Anybody able to make a move? The answer is no, but they're stacking up now behind Isaac.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a train starting to form behind, and I think Ove Trangrade very, very eager to try to get himself by. Remember, Ove tends to like to run with a little bit less downforce, so watch for him to be a little bit quicker on the straights and lose out a little bit through the twisty bits. You can see it there as they come down through the museum complex, lost a little bit of ground, falling back into the clutches of Peter.
We've already seen multiple spins. We've seen cars go too deep. We've seen them come together. I get the feeling that Snyder's going to have to be on his A game here, DJ, because if he makes one little slip up, they're all going by.
Yeah, and one little slip up is so incredibly easy to make here at Barber. As you said, Joe, it's a technical circuit. It has a beautiful flow to it. Each corner really blends into the next one quite lovely. And it's a great track to hot lap, but it's very, very easy. If you get slightly offline through one corner, it's going to throw you off for the next 3 or 4.
Look at this. It seems like Konecny's having trouble now keeping up with Trangrade as he falls back once again. Here we might have a move from Gernot Freesia down to the inside of Charlotte's Web. And Karthik Pai is the fly that is caught out as he goes around the outside. And Freesia is now into 11th.
Textbook maneuver there from Gernot, just down to the inside, gets down onto the power, not really having to get his elbows out too much. That's good respect there among drivers, both kind of recognizing that Gernot had some more overall speed.
So he now finds himself in 11th. Where could he have been if he had gotten a representative lap in? That's the big question. Up in front of them, this is the fight between DeTurk and Timothy Reed. This is for 4th position that we're watching coming out of the final 2 turns. Plunges downhill onto the main straight. And as they start to pick up speed, Reed not quite close enough here, but this is where he's got to start setting up. This is a whole sequence of corners leading on the run down to Charlotte's Web.
And there they go, trying to see if there's anything. It looks like DeTurk's just able to get a little bit better of a launch there out of the Alabama roller coaster. But again, closing down under speed is Reed. So it's a give and take here between these two cars.
Freesia might have another one on his teammate because Konecny went a little bit wide coming off of Charlotte's Web as well. Freesia is looking at a defending car in front of him down into Museum Corner. That's going to make it almost impossible to get by there. But he's still right on top of it. And even though they are teammates within the Classic Teams Championship, doesn't look like there's any team orders here.
No, not at all. Gernot really not fighting for the title, so I think this is more of a, hey, just don't run into each other kind of team orders right now. So that is a bit where it's going. But Gernot's going to have to try to get by here pretty quick as he looks like he's getting bottled up a little bit behind, and Karthik Pai being able to stick right close behind the gearbox of that number 1.
He wants to try and catch up if either of them slips up or if they slow each other up in this battle down through turn 1. Much tighter. You're down to the apex for Freesia as he opens up the entry into the Alabama roller coaster, diamonding off the exit. Is this going to be enough? It looks like he's got speed, but it's not enough speed, and he remains once again in 11th place. And they are starting to gain on Trangrade now, who seems to have lost touch with Snyder as they fan out up and over the crest out of turn 5 there and down into Museum Corner once again. So the ebb and flow of this battle is giving us quite a dynamic.
Yeah, it really is, Joe. It just seems like each and every lap it starts to favor one driver or the other. But Ove looking like he's in a little bit of trouble here from Peter Koneski here as they come around the carousel, trying to see if there's a little bit of a line. Once again, those multiple lines you can take through that corner really opens up some interesting opportunities. But the problem is that the way that it sort of S's there around at the end doesn't really present an overtaking opportunity like it would necessarily at other circuits.
Well, right now, the drivers back here are our closest fight. Most of those up at the front have kind of spread out. So this is where the action is at this stage of the race. Much closer this time from Freesia. I don't think that's really close enough, though. Oh, but look at this. A little too deep into the corner. His teammate. Oh, he makes contact. Freesia knocks him out wide as Karthik Pai finds an opening to get through. Hopefully not too much damage on Freesia, but poor Peter has sent just sitting at the side of the road wondering what happened.
Ooh, and there is some pretty heavy damage to the front of Gernot's car. You can see there on the front nose and the right front wing, that all kind of crinkled there. That's going to hurt the overall performance of this car, especially around a downforce sensitive track like this.
Just a confluence of bad situations all coming together, unfortunately. As whoa, and so the number one certainly looks out of sorts. He's trying to push the car, but maybe a little too hard with that damage. That is, I think, Tolanen. No, that's Lino in behind him, who's still recovering after his early incident. And guessing based on all the sliding around that we're seeing out of the number one, he might have to give up that spot to Miko sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and remember, Miko way down the order from his qualifying position. He's down 7 spots courtesy of that little incident. Jump back up here. This is the battle for P4. Michael DeTurk and Timothy Reed starting to get a little bit interesting.
Yeah, Reed has closed that down once again. Coming into Museum Corner. Ooh, he looks very good through there as he gets right up on the gearbox, but a great exit from DeTurk. Will keep that number 6 behind for the time being down through the S's. Let's not forget, Sergio Fernandez is still sitting behind them. He qualified 3rd, sits in 6th. He's got to want to try and make up for that poor start that he had.
Yeah, just kind of stalking behind here, and this, we still have, Joe, 36 laps to go, so plenty of time for Fernandez to be able to close in on this and try to see if he's able to come in to be able to get that run that he wants. And I think he recognizes this battle, wants to let this play out and pick up any scraps that may fall his way.
Indeed, I can report that the number 10 did get by Freesia, so that moves Miko into 11th. And Freesia running 1:13.4, so yeah, he's probably going to get caught by Campbell, probably Konechny, maybe not Mascara, not sure, but he's going to continue to slip backwards. Let's take a look at P1 and P2, though, because Kayla, we said he's got to win, and he's pulled this back in just a little bit recently. That last lap, a 1:11.5 for Marco, his personal best, a 1:12.0 for Pauli Partanen, so it's down to 8/10 now.
Well, Joe, that last lap, not only his fastest, but the fastest overall, purple all the way around there. So a good lap for Kayla. Now the problem is, though, is he's going to get a little bit into the aero wash here as he starts to close into the back of Partanen, and that's going to be a little bit harder for him to try to figure out how to drive the car. He's got to take a little bit of alternate lines, try to get some clean air to the front nose of the car to the best of his abilities.
So let's see if he can do it. Obviously, the Finns here celebrating after just winning gold over in the Olympics in hockey, ice hockey. So big congratulations to them. Apparently, I'm told it is the first time Finland's ever won gold in the Winter Olympics ice hockey event. So a bit surprising to me since their history with that sport goes pretty deep. But coming down into Museum Corner, they've got 2 Finns at the top of racing, which they also tend to fare pretty well in.
Yeah, indeed they do, but Marco here keeping that gap at about 0.5 of a second. I'm not seeing a lot of over-aggression here from Marco Kalo, which you normally don't see, period, but he's just slowly but surely trying to reel this gap in a little bit. He's been quicker in all 3 first sectors here of this lap. Let's see how he handles it through the carousel. This is really the area where you feel a lot of that dirty air effect coming down through the final corner, turn 15. Let's see if he's able to pull it in a little bit more here. And lost a little bit of time on that lap.
So Partonen looks like he's reacting, trying to get back into it. Last two laps, 11.7, 11.6 for Partonen. And looking very consistent at this stage of the race, which isn't even quite halfway yet. Down into Charlotte's Web. The two of them trying to get the throttle down as soon as they can as it exits up and over the hill down towards Museum Corner. And seems like Kayla still hovering at about 0.5 of a second. And they are continuing to drop Andy T, who is down to 2.2 seconds behind them.
Yes, they are. And so that's going to be a big thing there, that Andy really kind of running off in an island unto himself here, not really having anybody to play with. This battle, though, really starting to heat up. I'll be interested to see if Michael DeTurk is able to hold off Reed. Reed running a little bit wide.
Yeah, he's certainly flirting with disaster there, and Reed manages to keep it from spinning out despite two wheels in the grass. Don't forget about Fernandez. Look behind them. He's actually gaining on the pair of them in these last couple laps. He's got it down to 0.9 of a second now. In through turn one, the pair of them head off into the Alabama roller coaster. This is where Reed needs to be right on top of that rear wing. Can he get the exit up and over turn 4? And it's good, but I don't think that's good enough.
No, I don't think it is either. He was about 33 thousandths of a second faster, but just able to close in. He's almost within touching distance now of Michael DeTurk. This is that slow and steady reeling in that you really need around Barber to make this work.
Oh, man, he is getting very close coming down through Museum Corner. It seems like that's a strong one for the 6. But again, it's so hard to try and pass through there. You got to be brave, and you have to really have an overlap, which he didn't have there that time through. Down to 0.7 of a second behind them to the blue and white car of Sergio Fernandez. And he continues to chip away at this pair, fighting for 4th position here today in round 10 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. Completing lap 14 now. Oh, and off goes Reed into the wall hard. Reed is definitely going to have to take some repairs from that one. I think he caught the corner of the car. He's waiting patiently for an opening, but that looked like a massive incident.
He is waiting to get that car going back and going around, but I don't think he's going to be able to carry on that much. Massive damage to the rear wing, massive damage to the front end of the car. That car is not going to be handling well. You can see the understeer rather as he goes through turn 1.
He's trying to see if it can pick up and carry on. Frisch's already passed him, so that's another spot for the 11. Back in it, just that grass. We've seen that in real life, and we've seen it here in the Sims so many times, DJ.
Yeah, we have. It's what Michael W. Johnson likes to call ice grass around here. You just touch it, and the tires react terribly to it, spin off, and you are off into the wall.
Back up to the front, 0.3 of a second now between Kayla and Partonen. This is looking very good for Marco. And unfortunately for him, he's got to see Andy T move one more position back to try and keep the championship hopes alive. So not impossible. Kayla now setting the fastest lap of the race that time by with a 1:11.398. And he's starting to get close enough. He could maybe try and attack.
He could indeed, or just try to force a little bit of an error, potentially, I think, is what he's really trying to do here from Paulie Partonen. And at a track like Barber, it's all about that incident mitigation. You just there, good poke his nose to the inside, trying to fill those rear view mirrors of Paulie Partonen. I like this attack from Kayla.
And Andy T, honestly, probably kind of wants him to attack, because that'll help him start to gather them back up. That's 2.5 seconds now to our current championship leader. Down into the second set of S's here, up and over the rise, and still stuck at about 0.3 back, looking down through the order. Want to give a lot of credit, not just to Freesia, but to Tyler Campbell for the race that they've been pulling off here, because Tyler Campbell is up to 12th. Remember, he spun and was down to, I think, either last or 16th early in the race are on board here today, as he gives us this, the opposite view. Shut up and drive. I like that ethos there. Just no excuses. Try and get out there and get the best results you can. And at this rate, there is a shot he could get a top 10.
There is indeed, and very also crucial. We've talked about this a couple of times. Having something on that little, very close there.
That was a moment.
That was a moment indeed, but having something on that little piece of bodywork right in front of the cockpit, the way the physics of the Lotus 79 work, if you pick up under tray damage, you will actually see what is ever written there pop up, and that'll be an indicator that you will have undercarriage damage. So it's a lot of times some of the more cagey drivers, you'll see them put little things there so that that when the car is clean, they will see nothing, and when there is damage to that underside, you'll see that right up.
Ah, that's a trick I never knew about, and fascinating, since we have seen a number of messages to the drivers over the years. Back around to complete lap 17 now. Partanen back up to 6/10 ahead of Marco Kayla. Once again, he responds, just making sure that Marco has to work hard if he wants to try and take this win today. They fly through the Alabama roller coaster once again. And Marco, if I'm seeing correctly, only has one win so far this season, and I believe that was at Le Mans.
Yeah, and remember, that race was a little bit of an outlier, just sort of a draft battle of whoever called the timing right. So if Marco's able to get a win here, that's going to be a big, big feather in his cap, flying down that back straightaway now. Coming down, it looks like Marco's able to gain a little bit of time there through Museum, but runs a little bit wide on exit, has to gather the car back up under him.
So out of the S's, they fly. And Tolanen just got by Fernandez. Fernandez has gone around. The 9 finds himself with more problems today, this time in Museum Corner. And this was his own doing, unfortunately. He's able to get going without hitting anything. But let's take a look at the replay. And this is a bit sad because he just set the fastest lap of the race last time by.
I think this was an issue of just pushing. Yeah, brings that car in a little bit too hot, probably about 10 feet off of the braking zone there, a little bit too late onto it. You saw him clobber the curb a little bit. That upset the car, just not enough to really slow it down. You don't really want to be putting any inputs into the middle of that plunging S section. You just want to let the car carry through there before getting on the throttle.
Well, let's get back to Isaac Snyder, because Ove Trangrade has been hassling him like no tomorrow. And as they come down into Charlotte's Web, he wasn't in position, but on the approach, it looked like he might have been. Now coming back into Museum Corner, that's Karthik Pai back there as well, just licking his chops, looking to see if either of them are going to open up the door. And Mikko Lino now into 9th position, gaining that spot off of Fernandez with his spin. This is a great recovery for him up to this point.
Yeah, doing a great job after that first lap incident. You see there Snyder going a little bit defensive into the first part of the carousel, just trying to cover himself off a little bit from any attack from Trangrade. Trangrade running it a little bit wider there, just trying to get the best launch off the corner that he can.
Oh, but he starts to fall off coming here out of the final corner. So nothing doing on that one. Pai starts to see Lino getting bigger and bigger in his mirrors. So we could see a pass for 8th position. Oh, is going very wide. I don't think that was trying to diamond off the corner. And indeed, not close enough there over Newgarden's crest, as Mikko has to try and re-rack and get back to him.
Yeah, he's going to have to try to regather everything, but I think what is going to start to happen here is that you're going to see some domino effects start to play in. One driver in this train makes a little bit of a mistake. That's going to back everybody up into one another. It's going to be a fascinating battle in the final 16 laps.
Marco Kayla cuts it back down once again. A 0.3 of a second gap between himself and Partanen last time by. He actually was slower, but so it must have been a mistake on this lap that has allowed him to get back on that gearbox. Coming down to 15 to go this time by, and that lap a 1:11.3, very close to his best so far this race for Caleb Partanen, also a 1:11.3.
Yeah, so very much matching it here. This is a big give and take between these two drivers for the lead. Oh, here comes Karthik Pai on Ove Trangarade.
Down the inside of turn one, and Trangrade off into the grass. Thankfully keeps it from spinning back across into Miko. Miko has to dodge to avoid, but here he goes. Great exit. He's got the slipstream. Ove's going to defend. Coming down into Charlotte's Web, looking around the outside, breaks deeper into the corner. Can he do it the long way around? Not quite.
Not quite, and Lino's going to have to line this up again, but he is very close. He's not done. He's going to have a look going down to the inside of the museum corner. He's going to have to be later under the binders, too wide.
Couldn't quite get there, in a little puff of smoke as he has to get on the brakes once again, not to run into the back of him. Woof. We just saw side-by-side through turn one and side-by-side through museum corner in the same lap. The drivers are starting to feel it and make some real moves here. Coming up now through 12 and 13. Oh, a big snap as we rode on board with the 10.
Yeah, that car starting to get lighter here. And remember, as the fuel burns...
DeTurk's had a problem. DeTurk was turned around. This was out of the final turn. I'm not sure. Yeah, he must have hit the wall. Look at that rear wing.
Oh, not what you want to see there, Joe, and I've got to imagine that was a little bit better. We've got that battle shaping up again. This is DeTurk falling right back in front of Ove Trangarade, and Mika Lino now has a great opportunity.
Also a problem for Fernandez. We'll get to that in a second. There he is right there, but Ove Trangarade's managed to get to the inside of Michael DeTurk, almost banging wheels with Miko, and the 10 is going to have to drag race him down into museum corner again, side by side, into here for the second lap in a row for the Finn. Tries to cut him off, can't quite come down to the apex. Oh, they come together, and that's going to send him spinning for the second time in a single lap from Michael DeTurk.
Things going from bad to worse there for Michael, and sadly that was always going to happen. If you try to go too wide into the second part of that chicane through museum corner, it is always going to end in tears.
And the humility does not cease here with Michael DeTurk. Instead of getting angry, he has apologized on the radio, despite him coming off the worst of the two there. But it's gone haywire here for the 8, and that is unfortunate to see after looking like a top 5 was on the cards. Meanwhile, we're looking at Kayla and Parton, and we'll try and figure out what caused Fernandez to go off, because he's now had to tow it into pit lane. He and Mosquera are only DNFs.
Indeed, but as we continue to focus here on the battle for the lead, Marco Kayla starting to come in a little bit closer here on the last lap, despite the fact that Paulie Parton actually went purple in Sector 1 this time around. So these drivers really starting to fight it out.
So I think we got a replay on DeTurk's incident. But Fernandez, I can tell you, it was a solo spin in the Alabama roller coaster, unfortunately, as I've had a chance to go back and take a look at it. And all on his own as well. Here for Michael DeTurk, it looked like a little bobble mid-corner, and that just sent him on a trajectory that he was not going to save.
Yeah, I think he came in with a little bit too much speed through the corner, and then coming down into there. Yeah, you can see how that corner, the apex there, just narrows up, and he and Lino always going to have some problems. Here's the replay on Fernandez. Did he just bring too much speed into the corner? Ooh.
Yep. So there we see all three incidents happening almost within a minute of one another. It just all popped off at once, and Fernandez is still taking repairs after that hit with the wall, so it must have damaged his suspension. However, DeTurk is still running in 10th position, now sandwiched between Freesia and Campbell. Oh, and Snyder's off. This is the 13 falling down to 8th place in Charlotte's Web, and another solo incident as he just understeered his way out into the grass.
It's a little bit surprised. Ooh, I think he's got some under tray damage there, Joe, as that car does not look like it's handling well.
No, he's going to lose 3 more spots. Man, Freesia is just having so many positions gifted to him today, despite a damaged car, a severely damaged car as you look at it once again. 8th spot now for him. And he's still got DeTurk trying to recover behind him. DeTurk's got a little bit of damage himself. Tyler Campbell, we think, might be sporting a little bit, but seems pretty quick at the moment. So this could get spicy here in the final 10 laps of this race.
It certainly could. Battle's not anywhere near done quite yet. And I can report, by the way, that Isaac Snyder does look like he's got a little bit of damage to the underside of that car. So I think he must have had a curb strike there that just upset things a little bit for him.
Well, it's definitely put him behind the 8 ball. He's now in 11th position as we come up and over Newgarden's crest once again. And did Finnegan lose his spots? I think, yeah, Finnegan just overtaken by Armando Edwards. And, well, this isn't over. Finnegan going to try and come back at him. He looks to the inside, down into Charlotte's Web, and braking hard with the desired line. Armando's going to fight him and not have the grip. Oh, a slip up from Nathan. He knows it immediately and covers off, DJ.
Covers it off in there. It looks like Armando backed out of it a little bit, not wanting to get too aggressive going down into Charlotte's Web as Marco Kayla sets the fastest lap of the race.
Still 3/10. It has been swapping back and forth between Partanen and Kayla for that fastest lap for a while now. And both are pushing at 10/10. You can see as they come through Charlotte's Web as well. It's up to 4 seconds ahead of Andy T. I am very curious. Andy doesn't like to just kind of race to cruise and piddle around. Is he just doing that today, or is he pushing at his maximum?
Well, he did just set his fastest lap on the last lap with a 1:11.14. So I've got to think he's pushing here a little bit, but Joe, this Barber circuit, it favors some drivers' driving styles, and to others it really doesn't. The way that the elevation change happens in the corners, it's not like other American circuits necessarily, like Mid-Ohio, where you have a lot of the cresting right at the apex of corners. It's a very different circuit, and so some drivers just don't like the way that it goes.
Looks like a curb strike somewhere knocked the front wing out of alignment slightly, but that's pretty common here with this car at most tracks, especially if they have any elevation coming off the ground on those curbs, which these definitely do here at Barber. And back up to our leaders. Kayla down to 4/10 of a second. He's dropped off just slightly since we last checked in on this. And again, coming down to the final laps of the race now, at what point does Marco try to attack? Can he even try to attack?
I mean, I'm not sure at this point. The car is getting lighter. That means it's going to be a little bit more nimble. It's going to have a little bit more of a loose characteristic to it. So he will have a easier to control car to be able to chuck it in. But the problem with that is that it's going to be very twitchy, and he's got to be careful about it. So I'm not sure what he's going to want to do. Very close, though, here through the carousel.
Oh, interesting news. Mosquera has not DNF'd. He has actually gotten back in the car and is out rolling. So Fernandez now your sole DNF, and Javier is running in 16th. But as we take a look at him, this is just in front of Timothy Reed, who's in 15th, but 4 laps ahead of Javier. Back up to our leaders. I'm keeping half an eye on this and also an eye on Freesia DeTurk and Campbell, because those two have been quite close to one another. Ooh, this is looking mighty good. This is the closest that we've seen Kayla all race long. 0.2 of a second right up behind him. Not close enough for Museum Corner. If he can stay this close for a full lap, then he could maybe get something down into Charlotte's Web, but he's already falling behind.
Yeah, just understeering off a little bit there on the exit of Museum. Tries to gain back in, the gap back up to about 4 or 5/10 of a second.
Through 12 and 13, the pair of them carrying on. Again, they're going to have to use every inch of the track they can, just carry all the speed they can, because neither one is going to give up an inch in this battle. Both of them managing to avoid the pitfall that many have had here through that final turn, just spinning the car off of that last curb and down in through the Alabama roller coaster they go. What's impressive, though, about not just these two, but Andy T as well, it's 10 seconds back to Jukka Tolinen in 4th place. So the podium has definitely been running a pretty impressive pace.
Yeah, they really have, Joe. I mean, if you look at it, they're dabbling down into the low 111s, and we're not really seeing any times like that, out of the exception of Michelino, who, remember, qualified up with these guys. Ooh, bit of a brake lock up there, going down into the museum. Running wide is Marco Kalo. That's going to cost him a couple of tenths.
Yeah, it's up to almost 0.6 of a second now. Along through the S's, the Raccoon Racing driver wants this one with every bit of his being, and he's doing everything he can, but it just doesn't seem to be enough. And in fact, Partonen seems to be on a bit of a tear lately, because let's not forget, he won at the Nürburgring last round. That was his first win of the season. And this next one going to make it back-to-back if he can just hold on to this spot. He came in 6th in the points, and this will launch him up into the top 5, no doubt.
For sure, Joe, and setting the fastest lap of the race there just for good measure as we tick down with 6 laps to go. He's been able to get that gap up courtesy of that little bit of a bobble we saw out of Kayla. He's got the gap up to about a second now, so some very, very good late race driving here from Paulie Partonen.
By the way, looking at some of our hard chargers, right now, Freesia, I think the most positions gained, but granted, his qualifying was not great, 8 up from his starting position. But you got to give credit to Karthik Pai, because the number 7 car has gone up 7 positions from 12th to 5th here today as the cloud cover starts to come over.
Yes, it is, and this battle's keeping to shape up here. Tyler Campbell looking like he may have a little bit of a run there on the damaged Michael DeTurk. That gap falling down under 0.5 of a second right now as they plunge their way through Museum. Nice and steady. You can see the shoulders there, how he's got to kind of fidget around there to get that car from not to step out on it.
Little shake of the head. I think he wasn't terribly happy with that run through the corner. Lost a little bit of time. It's up to 0.6 of a second once again as now Kayla back to the fastest lap with our little graphic up in the corner of the screen. And once again, 2 wheels into the grass there for Tyler Campbell. He is not afraid to really take this one out there.
No, he's not, and that's really what you've got to do. And Joe, I can tell you from experience, when you see that rear wing damage on the car in front of you, that just makes you hungrier. It makes you really want to push more. As you can see, Campbell really running that car all the way through. Careful not to take too much of that curb. Oh, we've got a car around.
That's Finnegan yet again, and this one happened in turn 15. Just the car swapping ends on him. I think he managed to avoid hitting anything, and he gets rolling once more. Back up to our leaders. It's gotten a bit cloudy, but no rain here in iRacing yet. As we've seen with IndyCar here in real life at times. Seeing it erupt during some of the races and coming across the line still stuck at 0.4 of a second. It might not seem like much, and for the viewer that's not used to racing and not familiar with racing, DJ, this might seem a bit boring, but my goodness, this has been a pressure cooker between these top 2.
Exactly, Joe, and this is really one of those situations where it's just all about the simmering tension. It's a bit like Chekhov's gun here. You know there is going to be an explosion of action here coming. Oh, speaking of that, we've got Isaac Snyder around.
Oh, and he did touch the grass, it looks like. This is coming up and over the leap there towards the carousel, and that sent him spinning around once again. Very lucky it did not send him into the barriers. I thought we would have some massive accidents with cars finding their way into the tires here today, and it looks like most everybody's been able to avoid that. Oh, and DeTurk, did he lose a spot to Campbell?
Yes, he did, Joe. I think Michael just had a little bit of a wide moment there, and Campbell was able to sneak on by.
No, we need a replay. He had contact with Freesia. Elbows out for Gernot, has shoved Michael DeTurk off the track in turn 1. I saw smoke, and I didn't think much of it, and this is the cause of it. Just elbows out, off into the paved runoff with a little touch of the gravel. And that sends him spinning around, and DeTurk is now down to 10th position. That means now Campbell is attacking Freesia instead. And we know that Freesia is limping. And it's looking like, yeah, he's not fast in a straight line. Here comes Campbell into turn one. He's not close enough. If he gets a good exit coming here out of Newgarden's crest, he is going to get a good opportunity. It doesn't look good enough to me, though.
No, just couldn't get the power down at the end of the Alabama roller coaster there, coming down into Charlotte's Web now. You see him trying to take a little bit of later apexes, carrying the momentum as much as possible through the corners. That's what you go there all the way through, trying to get it. Not close enough here.
It looks to me like Freesia maybe is just pushing himself, as now we got a battle between Trankerade and Miko. It seems like Freesia's pushing in the corners to keep himself out of range on the straights, because he definitely is lacking speed, as Trankerade probably won't be lacking speed. And indeed, look at him start to pull away here, as Leno, who is close through the carousel, could not catch up once again. But maybe he could set himself up here closer, getting some slipstream, once again squaring it off and trying to get the run. Unfortunately, he is not there, and I think Isaac Snyder's found himself in the wall for real this time.
Yeah, I think he has permanently off track. Looks like he's got a lot of problems there. But Mika Lino, little overeager coming into turn two, that part of the Alabama roller coaster. You saw his nose just kind of dart in there. Looked like he was trying to be a little bit too aggressive. Able to catch it back there as, oh, DeTurk in the pits now. Looks like he is DC'd.
Yeah, he touched the grass and spun his way into the barrier. He decided that was enough for today. We have seen a lot of spins, a lot of issues here at the end. A little dive to the inside, nothing doing there from Miko. But it seems to me that the lightness that you mentioned, as the cars start to lose all the fuel, is really affecting them in a big way today. Oh, down to the inside for the lead, and Marco gets spun around. Can he get it going in time? He does. I think he's okay. It was a light tap. He's going to retain second place, but there goes the fight for the lead on the last lap of the race. It was a desperate dive, but desperation unfortunately produced nothing more than a spin.
And I understand exactly what Kayla was thinking there. Partonen left the door open a little bit, just couldn't get the car woed up in time. With the white flag out, you have got to be going for those moves, Kayla. That was the move to try to hold on to the championship.
But this will seal the deal, as Pauli Partonen is going to take the victory 2 in a row as he comes down to the line. The number 4 wins today in Alabama after a victory in Germany just a week ago. Marco Kayla will take second, but Andy T with third is your new champion.
And Andy, a fantastic season, a fantastic drive, and a well-earned champion here for the number 2. The little bit of wiggle of happiness there for him.
Ove Traegerade is able to hold on just barely for 6th place after Miko was trying to get just one more before the checkered flag. How about Tyler Campbell here? He's still in it. If he gets a good exit, he could snipe him at the line. He's going to try, but it's not enough. And it looks like Freesia will retain that 8th place. Campbell with a 9th and only 12 cars on the lead lap after we saw 15 of them on the lead lap just a bit ago. This has been a tumultuous final few circuits around here, as celebrating Andy T knows he is the champion. And we're going to take a quick break, hopefully get to chat with him here after that, along with giving you the official results.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park, round 10. Despite a slightly smaller field than we're used to, gave us incredible action here today for the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And it was Pauli Partanen who took the win. It's going to launch him up into the top 5 in the points, but Marco Kela with his second place and Andy T with his third means that we have now crowned Andy with his first Lotus 79 championship. Jukka Tolinen was fourth behind them as Karthik Pai climbed from 12th to 5th. Ove Trangarade wound up in 6th today. Nico Lino, unfortunately, having been bumped off early in the race, had to recover up to 7th. Gernot Frisha, a big spin and a poor qualifying, damage on the car, and even with all that, he went from 16th to 8th. You cannot stop that man. Tyler Campbell, with his unique view today, finished in 9th as Peter Konieczny was P10. Armando Edwards after him at DJ.
Nathan Finnegan was in P12, the last driver on the lead lap, with Timothy Reed a lap down, Michael DeTurk 2 laps down, not finishing. Neither was Isaac Snyder, and Javier Mosquera and Sergio Fernandez, the other DNFs on the day.
Looks like we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Pauli Partanen, and double celebrations for him today. Pauli, congratulations, not just on the win, but on your country taking a gold in ice hockey. It's a good day for you.
Yeah, it is very good day. Thank you.
So you had to really be on it all race long. Marco was right behind you and even had a go at it down there on the last lap. Were you nervous at all throughout the race with him so close behind, and were you surprised by that move?
Yeah, I was very nervous. He's very good with the overtakes and very fast guy, so whole race was very intense, and to be honest, that was really desperate move from Kela, but I think it was for the championship. I think he needed to win here, so I understand that he wanted to pass me, but very desperate overtake at the end.
I'm just glad it didn't take both of you out. Yeah, this track is sometimes not well loved by a lot of drivers. I know it's one of my personal favorites. Now that you've had a win here, how do you feel about it?
Before this race, I hated this track, but now that I win, it's one of my favorites now.
Of course, it always changes one's opinion. Congratulations on that win. Is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Thank you guys, very good broadcasters like always, and thanks for Jukka as always helping me, and I think Andy T won the championship now, so nice job, man. You deserve it.
We're going to talk to him in a moment. Before we get to Andy T, though, I believe DJ is going to have a chat with Tyler Campbell.
I am indeed, Tyler. A 9th place finish here. A big move up the field for you. That's got to feel good around a tricky track like this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this is my first time driving this car in a race, actually. I wasn't around during any of the other races this week. So, getting to race with these guys is always, I say always, it is a pleasure. I'm usually watching them on my lunch break at work right now, but it's my birthday week, so I took the week off, and it's really fun to race with these guys. They're amazingly talented, and it was a super fun race.
Well, okay, I have to ask you, the camera, how did you do it? You got to talk to me about this. This is brilliant.
Okay. So you just have to take a picture, right? I'm taking the picture while I'm lining it up to where my face is. And then you can, if you really want, you can crop out just like the front of the car and then put that layer in front. So you look, it's in front of me, so it looks like I'm in the cockpit. It's that easy. If I was really good with Photoshop, I could chop out like the head behind me. But we can just ignore that for now.
Well, I love it. We were laughing about it and having a good time. And so, yeah, first time out racing with these guys. What are your thoughts about the car? How do you like it? How do you like the flow to it? Anything you can give to anybody new coming in?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I wouldn't call it easy to drive, but it's very fun to throw around. I mean, I have real world experience in karting, so it's much like a extremely fast go-kart with aerodynamics. So there was more aero push than I was expecting in the race, if I'm being honest. I hadn't driven any in traffic, and so that was kind of a struggle for me. But the way it evolves is amazing. It's like you drive, the first 10 laps, and you're like, okay, I think I can get used to it. And then when you get to like the last 5 or 10 laps, you're like, how am I going so quick? And you're just flying through the corners, absolutely just balls to the wall, sliding the wheels coming out of the corner, and it's just a blast.
Well, I know it's a personal favorite of mine as well. But anybody you want to thank here for this run today?
Yeah, I always like to thank my dad. He helped me do a lot of karting stuff. We're actually out at the track yesterday. I'm helping him out because now he's trying to get into it. So, I want to thank him for giving me the opportunity to come out and race and, do what I like to do and always supporting me. And of course, my lovely wife who puts up with me. So
always got to thank the significant others for letting us do this crazy hobby. Tyler, thank you so much and congratulations again on a 9th place here today.
Yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate it.
That was Tyler Campbell finishing in 9th, but the man who finished on the podium in 3rd and is our new champion, Andy T. Congratulations, sir. You've done it.
Man, you have no idea how hard this was. Unreal. I'm overwhelmed.
Well, I have to ask, how hard were you pushing in the race? We did see some personal bests being set out there, so it looked like you were keeping it up, but it didn't look like you had the pace for the top 2.
Yeah, man, I made a set on Tuesday and did an hour's practice, and that was me for the week, and this is my first race run, so I just wanted to bring it home in P3, knowing what I needed to do. I mean, the qualifying session, I knew it was over because Marco needed to 60 point every race, so that was it, and it's just a bit of a surreal thing to do, survive the first lap and just cruise around.
Well, surreal or not, it's been a long time coming. We've watched you come in many a time and dominate races and show immense speed. Now that you've done it, is that it? Is it back to the one and done little appearances that we see from you, or are you going to come back to defend next season?
Nah, man, that's it. I need a new challenge. It's just one of those things. I'm just thinking about it during this race. What do you do now? I have nothing to prove in this series anymore. So let's go on and try something else and see what we can do.
Well, I'd love to see in some of the other series that we cover, especially some of the vintage cars. Have you ever considered the Lotus 49?
No, because I respect myself.
All right. No, I'll say no more, but congratulations. Is there anybody you want to thank for both a podium and a championship?
Yeah, I'm going to miss names out here, but Jamie Fluke, who gave me some coaching a few seasons ago and gave me the confidence to know I could beat Tomash every now and then. Raccoon Racing, incredible. Michael de Turk would not be here without you. We've discussed setup and lap times and all kinds of stuff, so thank you, buddy. All the best. Dino, Yoke, you know what you did. Coach Ray, you got me to turn 6, man. Hoops, happy birthday. You are literally the worst. Oh my God. And the family for everything as always. And I'm going to stop talking before I cry. Okay, great.
That's Andy T with some of the best thank yous we always tend to hear, and our new champion in the Sunday Grand Prix Series, which is going to wrap us up, as we also want to give thank yous, of course, to our sponsor. The Majors Garage has a link in the description below. If you click that and use our discount code MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. Also, thanks to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of great coverage here, and also to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. There's a link for that in the description below. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you won't miss a moment, including next week. We've got more racing, even though the championship is decided, and that'll be Watkins Glen, a classic for this car. That'll be Sunday, February 27th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. 4 of them today, 3 more coming up, including next will be the Absolute Beginners League at the Nürburgring, the Nordschleife. That'll be at 2 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.